Hi everybody, this is Johnnie. As a parent, I want the best for my kids. I know you want that for yours too. We want them to be confident, we want them to be capable, we want them to be good at math. I'm going to tell you what you can do to make that happen. I will talk about working with schools and teachers, about homework, about math attitudes and mindsets, about what to do with wrong answers, about how to move your kids to be smart at math, not just fast, and I will talk about what's most important, how you can be that parent who's there for your kids, their advocate, the one who looks after them as they learn and grow in math. I'm going to start by giving you some things to do and to not do. I will go into more detail on every one of them later on. Do this. Tell them and show them the math you do in your work and what interests you. Tell them and show them how math is what we do to do things, make things, understand the world better. Don't do this. Don't say that some people are just good at math, that maybe some people are just not good at math. Show them instead all the people who do math all the time. People you know, people they know, in your family and in your community, who do some math every day to make life happen. Do check your own attitude about math. Stay away from negative talk about math. Remember your own experiences with math and share the good ones with your kids. Don't tell your kids that they are good or bad at math. Really don't tell them either of these. Focus them on the math work they are doing. Encourage their focus, the attention they put into their math. Tell them that the work they put into their math is what counts. Again, don't tell them that they are good or bad at math. Math is not who they are, math is what they do. Don't give them grief for getting problems wrong. Show them how to learn from mistakes. We learn from our mistakes all the time. Wrong answers in math can teach us how to think. Stop making math about how fast your kids are with numbers. Show them how to be smart with numbers, not fast with numbers. Do talk with them about the importance of sticking through problems. Giving up is never satisfying. Sticking to something and getting it gives us confidence. Stop making doing math a performance. Asking your kid to show how clever they are, or maybe not. Ask them to do math with you, to get things done, to make things, to find the interest in things you care about. Advocate for your kids always, especially with your kids' school and with their teachers. Schools and teachers really do want your kids to be good at math. Do talk about math. Do talk about how you do math. Do this all the time. And play games with your kids, lots of them. Now let me tell you more about math in our own lives. We do math to move through the world. We do math to understand the world. We do math to tell others what the world is about and how it works. We do math to make our lives better. So much of what we know about math comes from what we do in school, but that is not enough. You need to tell them about the math that is in our lives that are not in school. Talk to them when math comes up in something you are doing together. When you are traveling, organizing something, making something. Show them how math comes up in all kinds of things we do. Shopping, cooking, sports, things we do for fun. When you do this, you tell your kids that math matters across our lives, that math is more than something we do at school. About our math attitudes. Why is math the subject that so many people say that they are bad at? Too many people say that they hate math. People don't say that so much about reading. Who says that they hate reading or bad at it? Not many. What's the difference? When we think about math, we think about school. It's too easy to remember the not good parts about how we learned math. We put math in a school box. We learn math to get through school, to get a diploma, and to get to do more school. Too few of us get to learn math to do something more than what school wants. Too often we don't get to learn math for ourselves, to make something, or to be able to do something we care about. Again, think about reading. We learn to read for ourselves. We learn to read so that we can learn more, learn more for ourselves. We learn to read to know the world better. And many of us read just for enjoyment because we like good stories. Why don't we give kids math that they care about, things they want to do? Why don't we give them these good reasons to learn and do math? Why can't they just be curious about something that matters to them and embrace the math that they need for that? Let's think about our attitudes towards math. What kind of attitude do we want our kids to have towards math? What attitude do you present to your kids? Do they hear from you that math is hard? That math is something you yourself are not good at? Or maybe the opposite. Maybe you tell them that math was easy for you. Either one might be a problem for your child. What happens when you say that you don't like math or that you're not good at math? Remember, they're your child. They might start to think that any struggle they have with math just comes from the family. That is just who they are. They don't get the story of the math that does work for you. You need to tell them about the math you do that works for you, the math you find in the things you do, math you might even like. They need that picture of you. They need to see you as someone who does math and is capable in the math they do. They need the parent who does math as part of their lives. You need to give them that parent, the parent who does math all the time in things that matter to you. And they need to hear about that math from you. Then there's the other side. When you tell them that math was easy for you, that could be a problem too. Your kids might get stuck on the idea that math should be easy for them too. What are they going to do when the math isn't easy for them? What are they going to think about themselves when they have to struggle with a hard problem? Math should not be easy. Math should be interesting. Math should tell us what's going on. Math should help us solve problems. What your kids need from you is to hear about the math that challenged you, the math that made you work hard, made you think. They need to hear about what you do when you do math, the work, the focus, and the challenges. They need to hear why math interests you, why it matters to you, not the simple story of it being easy for you. Show your kids the math attitude that you want them to have. A math attitude that recognizes that math that matters and works for you every day. A math attitude that shows that math does take work and will be challenging. They need to learn from you that math is satisfying when working through challenges and solving worthwhile problems. About math mindset, about growth mindset. Mindset is about attitude as well. It is mostly about what we believe about ourselves, how we see ourselves as learners. We should be careful when thinking about mindsets and doing math. First, we need to be careful with what kids tell themselves about who they are when they do math. The second is what we tell our kids about who they are when they do math. About what kids tell themselves. Kids can talk themselves into believing that they are just not good at math and just can't get any better at it. We set them up for this. We too often talk about some people just getting math and some people just not getting it, like people are born with it or without some kind of math gene. People will plainly say, "I am not a math person," and others are happy to say that math comes easily to them. Truth is, those who say that math comes easily to them, they spend time and effort working through the problems. They struggle and work through the math they need to solve the problems, and they don't give up. Because they work their way through problems, they get to feel good when they have an answer that makes sense. They can feel good about themselves doing math. Someone who believes that they are bad at math will give up on problems way too soon. Maybe because they believe the math is too hard, or maybe they just keep telling themselves the story that they are not good at math. They never get to feel good about doing math and getting something good from it, like finding a good answer. Mindsets in math can help us think about this. Someone with a fixed mindset believes that who they are and what they can do will always be the same. What you are and how you do things just stays the same. Bad at math, good at math, that's just who you are. A mindset is a belief. We believe what we believe because it works for us. We hold on to beliefs, mindsets pretty tightly. They do something for us. We don't want to give them up. So someone with a mindset about being bad at math works to make this true. They give up on problems too soon. Any wrong answer is just confirmation, something that shows that you are bad at math. They see wrong answers as proof of who they are, not opportunities to make something right, something to learn from. And someone with a mindset that they are just good at math, this can be trouble too. To hold on to this belief, the mindset, they might stay away from anything too hard, anything that might make them struggle, might take work, might show that math is not all that easy for them. They might avoid math that challenges them, that might make them grow. They might just stick to doing the math that shows them being quick, math that makes it look easy for them. Holding on to a mindset of being good or bad at math and not being willing to change or think differently about yourself and math is a fixed mindset, something we see as who we are, something that won't change. What if we push against this? Instead of a fixed mindset, think about what a growth mindset would mean. A mindset that holds that we can change, we can become something different. A growth mindset comes about from what we do. It is about how we see ourselves as we work through things, as we challenge ourselves, struggle through things, how we learn by doing. Growth mindset is about who we are becoming, not who we were born to be. Hold on to this. This is where talk comes in. With kids that continually talk themselves into a fixed understanding of themselves as simply good or bad at math, we need to interrupt their constant confirmations. We need to have them focus on how their math gets better because of the time, attention, and effort they put into their math. Don't focus on answers with them. Focus on their process of doing math. Instead of telling them that they are doing great because they have right answers or that their work is just wrong, talk with them about how they are doing the math. Work with them to find the strategies, the good thinking that made the math work. Tell them that that kind of thinking is what counts. Focus on their work habits as well. Sticking through problems matters. Paying attention to our thinking while we are solving problems is important. Looking for help from someone else, even you, is a good idea. Tell them that looking for patterns and drawing things out are really good habits. This is about doing math, to get better at math, to grow in math. It's not about who you are, it's about how you think and work. Someone with a growth mindset, someone who wants to grow and get better at math, sees challenges as opportunities. Avoiding challenges, for those of us with a fixed mindset about being good or bad at math, just keeps us where we are, keeps us from learning and growing like we might. The one most important thing about mindsets, we need to be careful with our own talk, careful not to define our kids as simply good or bad at math. We need to be there for them as they do math, as they think through, talk through what they do when they are doing math. We need to encourage all the good working and thinking that they are doing while doing math. We need to let them know that math is what they do, not who they are. About wrong answers. We are human. We get things wrong. Kids get things wrong. Our mistakes make us smarter, but only when we do something with them. If we see mistakes as stop signs, we get nowhere. If we see mistakes as useful detours, they can take us to interesting places. Wrong answers get us to better answers when we take them apart. Then give attention to how we were thinking when we were doing the math, and then make that thinking better. When your child has a wrong answer, don't just tell them to do it again and make it right. Ask them to tell you how they got the answer they got. Have them tell you the story of the problem and how they solved it. Listen and work with them to make the thinking and problem solving better. Talk through the problem with them. You can show them how you think and work through problems. Make a similar problem or use the next problem in the homework. You do the problem. You talk through your thinking, you draw pictures, you tell the story of your problem solving. This shows your child how they might think about the problems for themselves. After you've done one problem, have your child go back to the one they got wrong. Have them work through the problem again, telling you what they are doing. Look for the realization they make when they find what they could have made right, made better for themselves because of your example. Do not just do the problem for them. They won't learn unless they do it for themselves. Something else you can do. Do a problem and give a wrong answer. Have them be the detective, working out what you did wrong and what you could do right. Lots of good thinking in this. Something important. Not all wrong answers are the same. There are usually one of three things that can go wrong in a problem. The first is computation, adding things up, subtracting, the arithmetic. The second is procedure, doing things in the wrong order, not carrying or borrowing a number, not doing the algebra in the right way. And the third is about how they understand the concept, the big ideas in the math. Here's an example. A big concept for younger kids is that you can count things in any order and you still get the same number. For older kids, a big concept is that decimals are a special kind of fraction. Computational errors, procedural errors, conceptual errors, they are not the same. Fixing the computation is easy. You might get a calculator. Computation mistakes are not about being bad at math. These are small mistakes that can be easily fixed. Tell your child that everybody makes these kinds of mistakes, that we should always be careful with our numbers, but these kinds of mistakes are not bad mistakes. We fix them and move on. Procedural errors take a bit more work. There are examples for how to do the procedures in books or on YouTube. Show your kid how to do the procedure. Talk through what you are doing and why as you show the procedure. The why part is what counts. It's too easy to forget a procedure if we don't know why we are doing any of the steps. Your kid needs the why as much as the how. Conceptual errors are the hardest and take the most effort to work out. Making pictures, connecting to the math we already know, thinking about what we are trying to figure out. This takes more work, but it's so important. This is all about why the math is important. What we want to know, what we want the math to tell us, not just the arithmetic or the procedures. One last thing about wrong answers. It's so important. Knowing that everyone makes wrong answers sometimes gives us all a little grace. We should not be so hard on ourselves when we get things wrong. We just need to understand our mistakes as interesting gifts that we can learn from. Gifts that can make us better at math when we work to make them right. About speed and fluency. Why do we think that being fast at math means being good at math? Our kids get this message all the time from schools and teachers and from us. It's a damaging message. Kids who are quick are thought to be smart. Kids who take time to think are thought to be slow and not good at math. Speed is not what counts. What counts is fluency, what you can do with the numbers, the ideas, not how fast you do the math. We know what fluency means in language. It means being able to speak and write in ways that make sense. We don't get praise for being good at language when we speak it fast. We are fluent when we can bring all the parts of a language together to say something that means something. It's the same in math. It's what you do with numbers and math ideas that matters, not how fast you do any math. Being confident with numbers and ideas is important. So what about speed tests? Knowing your sums or times tables quickly, that must be good, right? It is good in one way. When our kids know their operations by heart, they have more mental space when doing a problem. They don't have to stop and work out the operations along the way. But we make being quick too important. We think that being quick is doing math. It's not. Think about it like this. Knowing how to spell makes it easier to write. If you had to work out the spelling of every word you write as you write it, your writing won't be so good. That's why learning to spell is a good thing. But here's what's important. Being good at spelling does not make someone good at writing. It's the same in math. Being quick with numbers is a good thing, but does not make somebody good at math. It is what you do with that ease with numbers that gives you confidence, that allows you better focus on what really matters in a problem. Now, speed tests are a problem. They simply sort our kids into good at math or bad at math. Those who are quick are and will always be good math students. Those who are not quick will never be good at math. There's just too much in math that is not about speed to make either of these true. Speed tests make your kids do the same math operation again and again in the same way. There's no context for the problems that are set out. Your kids are too often given no good reason to learn the facts other than adults think it's important. You, as your child's advocate, need to get in the way of this. First, make sure you give your kids the right message. Tell them that the practice that you do in any sport, in making music or art, is about making skills so that you can do that thing. You don't do practice so that you can be good at practice. You practice so that you can have confidence in doing that thing you really want to do. Play the sport, make music, create art. Being quick is not what matters. Being skilled with what you have learned through practice is what matters. Being skilled in math means more than just being quick. It's about being able to use numbers and math ideas smartly, with ease, in the right way. What your kids need are many different experiences with numbers and operations, not just timed speed tests. Give them many different experiences where numbers and operations matter, in games, with money, with time, with sorting and organizing anything that can be counted. Remember this: you were their first language teacher. You did not give them worksheets or speed tests to learn the family language. They learned your language by all the many different ways you used words to tell them about everything. Learning language is built into just living as a family. Do the same with numbers and operations. Use them to tell your kids about everything. Then have them tell you how numbers and operations work for them. About perseverance. As much as it is important to help your child develop fluency with numbers and operations, it is just as important for them to learn to persevere, to stick to problems. Mathematicians may be fluent with number and other mathematical ideas, but one thing truly defines mathematicians and the way they do their work. They persevere. They work on problems over time, days, months, and years. If there is one difference between kids who find success in math and those who don't, it is about who's willing to stick through problems, to see them through, even with some struggle, to get to a solution. This is not about smarts. This is about attitude. You should praise your kids for how long they stick with a problem, not how quickly they solve it. Tell them that if they are working a good problem, that it's okay to stop and come back to it when they get stuck. Good problems deserve more time. Tell them that the really good problems that need math, like building something, making something important happen in the world, learning something really complicated, take time, lots of time. Good problems need us to stick with them, to not give up. Tell them that time is a tool for their math, not the enemy, to use time as they need to make the math work for them. About numbers. Numbers are everywhere. Your kids need to know this. Numbers are not just in school and math class. Take a walk in your neighborhood and count things with your little ones. Talk about the numbers with your older ones that show up in the news about economics, weather, sports. Talk about the numbers you use in your work, in your hobbies, numbers that matter as you move through your life. Your kids need to see the numbers across their world and how they make us, how we make sense of the world with them. I was in a supermarket and saw a mom ask her kids, maybe 10 or 12 years old, to make decisions about what to buy. This was not about what they liked best. This was about what was the best product for the cost, and how much of anything they needed for their family, all important and all about the numbers we use all the time. This is number smart in the world, the kind of number smart we want for our kids. Numbers at school are important, but our kids need the numbers and the way we think about numbers from us too. About talking math. Aside from the good things you say to your kids every day, the most important talk you can give your kids is your talk about how you think. Thinking out loud, showing your kids how to think about math, how you make math work for you, is teaching them how to think. So make a habit to think aloud for your kids when you do math. There's words in math that we need to pay attention to. Knowing these words makes it so we can talk about math. Knowing these math words lets us know what others are talking about when they show us their math. There are different kinds of math words we need to give attention to when we talk about math with our kids. There are the math words like numerator or denominator, exponents, and trigonometry. These math words are important to learn. We use these words to make ourselves clear about what we are talking about when we do math. Then there's some other words. There are words we need to give special attention to. They can be confusing. These are the words that mean something to us in the everyday, something different in math. Words like difference, or total, or product, or mean. They can be confusing when we start using them to do math. We need to make clear to our kids what these words mean when we are doing math. One last thing about talk. Your math talk does not have to sound like school math talk. You don't have to sound like a math teacher. You should always start your talk about math with your kids by talking like you always talk, the everyday talk your kids already know. That kind of talk is and has always been what starts their learning with you. About making math. Think about everyday activities that have math in them where you are making something. Dinner for the family, art projects, building projects, all of these have math thinking in them. Talk about the math while you are making things. Show your kids the math you use in your making. Tell them how the math makes the making possible. About games. Games and puzzles, I just love them. I share great math games in some other videos. Games are great. They bring families together. Playing games teaches our kids about strategy and problem solving. Games might even teach them how to get along with others. There are important things that matter when we're thinking about games and math. Certain kinds of ways of thinking about math that connect. One is conceptual understanding, knowing what the math is about and how it works. Another is procedural fluency, knowing how to do the operations that make math work, the arithmetic, the algebra. Another is having a productive disposition, a positive and self-aware approach to doing math and having the resilience to work through problems. What's great is games do all of these. Players have to know the goals of the gameplay, the big idea or the fundamental reasons for the play, the concepts behind the gameplay. Players need to know how to play the game, the rules or procedures for playing. And they need to know how to play the game for fun with others. A positive and productive disposition to the gameplay. Games offer one more important skill, something called strategic competence. In math, this is about choosing and deciding what to do in any part of a problem, what strategy matters to the problem solving. Games are all about strategy, thinking and deciding what works to make a great play or have fun, to play well. When playing games with your kids, give attention to these kinds of thinking. When you teach a game to your kids, talk about what the point of the game is, what players are trying to do to play well, the conceptual piece. Talk about the rules and gameplay and have your kids tell you the rules back. Have them show you that they understand the procedures of the game, the procedural piece. Talk about fun or interesting moves or plays, what makes the game fun and worth playing, the positive attitude, the engaged disposition that makes games fun to share with the people we care about. Share what makes for good plays, the thinking and choices you make as you play, the strategic reasoning you use to play well, to enjoy the game. You are teaching your kids to think strategically, the same kind of choice-filled, attentive, deliberate, interesting kind of thinking we use when we solve interesting math problems. The strategic thinking that we use in games makes for good moves and successful play. That same thinking in math takes us to good and interesting solutions. Talk through your thinking when it is your turn during the game, and ask your child to talk through their choices when it's their turn. Many games build number sense, especially ones with dice and cards, and some games help us think about space and geometry, like tic-tac-toe and Connect Four, and of course in Jenga. The game of set is a great game that teaches pattern recognition. My daughter has been beating me in set since she was 8 years old. You should try it out. Think about talking through the game after playing. What choices and strategies mattered? I have a good friend. We have been playing friendly games of chess for many years. Our games are sometimes quite long and enjoyable, but we often will spend a long time after the game just talking through the game, playing alternate endings, wondering about particular moves. The talk is usually as much fun and as interesting as the game we just played. What if you talk through math problems with your kids the same way you talk through a fun game you've played with them? How can we make math as fun and interesting as a good game? Having the right answer in math is good and satisfying, so is winning a game, but it is the problem solving, the gameplay along the way that matters. It is how we solve a problem or how we play a game that teaches us something. About choosing programs for math at home. This is a big deal. Let's start with a few questions. How important is it for your child to focus on skills? How important is it for your child to focus on learning strategies for solving problems? When you think about a math program for home, think about what your kids need. You might choose a skills-focused program to complement what your kids are learning at school, to make them solid and confident in their skills. You might choose a program that focuses on strategies for problem solving, that sets out good problems for your kids to solve. About skills and strategies. My son is a talented pianist. When he was young and first learning music, he spent a lot of time learning the skills of playing the piano. He played a lot of pieces that every beginning piano player is expected to play. But that was not enough for him. He had a wonderful piano teacher who took him to what was important. She worked with him to use his skills to play and write his own music. He learned skills so that he could make music. The same in math. We learn math skills and strategies to be able to do math. It's probably best to have a program for your kids that does some of both, a focus on skills and a focus on strategies for problem solving. But I have another question for you. How important is it for your child to have a program that is done every day? Something that is constant, organized, and sequenced in a purposeful way. When I talk with homeschool parents, making this kind of program work for their kids can be a challenge. It is great that doing math is a regular part of their kids' day. They are learning math in a purposeful way. But their kids may hate this. They can see doing math in this kind of program as a chore, something they just have to get through. It's not any fun. They may learn good math from such a program. They can also come to hate doing math. My suggestion: add to the program. Add games, add projects that have math in them. Make some of the math in the program about them and what they are interested in. Our kids want math that matters to them. Another question: how important is it for your child to have a program that lets them explore, find things out for themselves, maybe enjoy the math that they are doing? Kids need to find things out for themselves in order to learn. If all the math they ever do is boxed in books with answers given at the end, what are they going to do when the math they need, the math they use, is something in the real world? No answers given. Not only are no answers given, the problems themselves are not given. The math problems we do as adults have to be made by us and worked out by us. Make room for your kids to have this kind of not-school math experience. Some programs encourage kids to take what's in their lives and find the math in it. Find a way to make this happen for your kids. We want them to be smart about the math they do in the real world. Another question: how does your child like to learn, like to do math? By themselves, with others? It's good to know this about your child as a starting point. They may like certain ways of learning, but we have to also be aware that they may not know about other ways of learning. They may like to work by themselves, but have never had a real chance to work with others in a good way. In school, working with others can be such a mixed bag. A college professor wanted to know why a group of students in his class were doing so well with the math he was teaching them. It wasn't that they were smarter or studied more hours. It was that they purposefully made math study groups. They made themselves and each other smarter by working together in smart ways. You can do one great thing for your child: find other families and make study dates for your kids. As they get older, work with them to make their own math study groups. This is a big deal and cuts across the subjects your kids are learning. Lastly, as you work to make a program for your kids, talk with other parents about what they are doing for their kids. The social part of learning is not just for your kids. You can learn how to be a better math parent for your kids by figuring things out with other parents. About older kids. When our kids move on to middle school and high school, they seem to need or want less of us in supporting them with their math. Instead of worrying that we can't give them enough support, let's think about different support. They are not little kids. They need something different from us. We should ask them about what they are doing in math, mostly to show our care for them, but also so we can give help if they need it and if they want it. Help them make a plan with math. Older kids have to manage all their different subjects. They will need some help with this. Make sure they have what they need for doing math. A place where they can work, a calculator or their phone, online resources like Khan Academy or Desmos, or books like the Big Fat Notebooks. Encourage your child to work with peers, either in person or virtually. Encourage your child to have a talking relationship with their math teacher, not a passive relationship. If they are not clear about what they are to do or not clear about the math, they should learn to advocate for themselves. They should ask their teacher for some direction or some help. If they're nervous about this, suggest that they approach the math teacher with some classmates. They need to learn to make school work for them. School programs from older kids can be set out in tracks or pathways. Be careful here. You need to work with the school and with your kids when math pathways are set out for them. Work to choose a math pathway in school that works for your child. Work to choose a math pathway in school that sets them up to have choices for themselves when they move on. You should do both. Find a math pathway that challenges your child, will make them grow in math, that sets them up to be confident in math. Don't settle for what is easy and avoid pathways or programs that are just hard on kids, programs that think that rigor is being tough on kids. Be aware of when the math sorting happens in schools, especially in middle school. Some kids move into a math pathway that sets them up for lots of choices when they grow up, especially in the sciences. Some get a math pathway that kind of dead ends, is just enough to finish high school but not enough for what they would need beyond high school. Talk with teachers, school counselors, administrators about what is offered. Be the advocate you need to be for your child. What you want is for your child to learn lots of good math, math that will set them up for a future they want for themselves. They may not know what that is yet, but they don't want the wrong math pathway to cut them off from things they might want to do. Talk with other parents, talk with parents whose kids have gone through the math programs being offered, learn from them. One last thing about math programs in school. They are made by people and can be changed. If you believe something could be made better, let the school and the program know. But don't do this by yourself. Work with other parents. Work with teachers. You all care to have good math happen for your kids. One more thought about older kids. They might tell you that they hate math. What is it that they are hating? Is it the assignments? Is it the lessons that make no sense? Is it the competition with peers? Take these apart with your child. How much of the hating math is hating what school does to math, the grades, the homework, the pressure to perform in the classroom? Separate this from the math and work with them to manage or even make the school parts better. Older kids need you still. They need you to look out for them, to set them up for a math life they don't know about yet. About working with schools and teachers. First, assume good intent. Teachers and schools want children to do well. We can support them to do this. Be careful with negative talk about your child's teacher or their school. They have to get up every day and spend hours and hours with their teachers at their school. They also may start to think math plus school is just bad. We don't want that. What we do want is to know what the math program is for our kids. Here's what you want to find out. What is the core math curriculum? How much of the math curriculum focuses on math skills and strategies? How much of the math curriculum focuses on problem solving and math thinking? How much opportunity do students have to explore and wonder about rich problems? What is the homework policy? How much latitude and choice do families have with how the homework is done? How will the teacher communicate about what is happening in math and how my child's doing? What you want to do to support your child at school. Let's start with an easy one. Do a kindness. When your child has something good to say about the math they are learning, send a note to the teacher. When they are young, spend time in your child's class during math time. If you're not sure about what's happening in math or have some concerns, talk with other parents, but do not start a club of parents that find the teacher a problem. Make a meeting with the teacher. When you meet with your child's teacher, start with sharing something your child finds worthwhile in the classroom. Then share a concern. It's good to share some of your child's work when you do this, so you can work together to make something better happen for your child. Work with your teacher to set simple goals, what you will do, what your child will do. Then the teacher should offer what they will do. You might be meeting with your child's teachers because they find the math too easy and they want something more. What all kids really need in a math program is some challenge. Math that does not challenge them does not respect them. The challenge has to be at a level where some work, some focus, and some perseverance, just enough of each, makes for success. Work with your teachers to focus the curriculum on what pushes your child, makes them struggle in math just enough to grow. What you want is for your child to do math the way people who love math do math. Engage in good problems, be challenged, work smart through those problems, and enjoy and be proud of your good solutions. Here's a way to think about it. Your child's school education is a three-legged stool. The child, the teacher, and you, the parent. Each of you makes math learning happen. Each wants a good math education to happen. About math homework. Have your child tell you about their math homework before they start. What are they supposed to do? What is the homework about? Do they need any help? As much as homework is about completing assignments, homework is about learning to be responsible and setting routines for oneself. When your child shares homework problems with you, have them talk out the problems. Have them think aloud about the problems. Make your help for them a conversation, a talking through the problems and procedures in the problems. Here's what you don't want to do. Just do the problem for them. That makes no work for them. Do the problem with them, not at them. Everything you do with your child during your time with homework should make them work a little, make them explain things. That's where the learning happens. They don't learn the math when you do it for them. They could be doing math we are not so sure about ourselves. It may have been a long time since we've done that kind of math. Your child might be doing math you've never seen before. Make this an opportunity, not a problem. Show your kids what you do when you need to find out something you don't know. Find resources online, use a math book, show them what people do when they are not so sure about something that they need to know. If the homework is dry, if the homework routine gets old, add something. Play a game, do a puzzle. Talk about some interesting math that comes up in your life. With homework, focus on understanding. It is better for your kids to do fewer problems and understand them than for them to do many problems and get some answers and not know why the math matters. The most important thing about homework is that it makes time for you to encourage your child while they do math. This is when you can help them build a good attitude toward math, a productive disposition, a willingness to challenge themselves, to stick to problems, to learn to see doing math as worthwhile. Here's what you can do at the start of homework. Go over directions with them, ask what needs to be done, ask about where they might have seen the ideas before, offer a similar problem. Here's some questions to ask during the homework. What is the problem asking? What do you already know? Have you seen something like this before? Does this make sense during the problem solving or about the solution? Here are some questions to ask after the homework. How did you do by your homework? What do you feel you learned? What do you feel strong about? What are you not so sure about? What did you do to make the homework work out for you? Giving your child some attention when doing their homework tells them that you care about them and the math they are learning. In closing, I've given you lots to think about. I do hope that what I have shared with you will be helpful to you. Math is such a wonderful and interesting subject. It can hold a more special place in our relationship with our kids and their learning when we give it attention, the right kind of attention. If you have questions or comments, please add those in the comments below. If you want to contact me directly, please go to the end of the screen of this video. You'll find contact information there. I wish you the best in your math work with the ones you care about.